Maybe one day we'll get another good BioWare game. Today's not that day, but maybe one day. Welcome to Bite Size Bunny, my name's Tony, and today we are going to be talking about Dragon Age the Veilguard. And oh boy, is this a bit of a hot mess, so let's talk about it. This feels like BioWare's greatest hits wrapped up into one product without any of the special sauce to back it. It's a mishmash of all of their previous work, but it lacks all of the surprises and creativity that went into those games and made them so special. At this point, it borderline feels like this game was made by a BioWare cover band. It's so close, yet so far away. Which is really frustrating because this isn't a terrible game. There are glimpses of greatness, but it's all squandered here. The story here is very simple. In this game, you play as Rook, the hero of the narrative, and you are trying to stop two evil elven gods that are trying to take over the world. There's really not much to it whatsoever, and what's really unfortunate here is that the two villains of this game aren't really all that menacing. Instead, they're kind of annoying. At no point in the narrative did I ever feel like things were actually getting intense. I didn't once feel like, oh man, are we actually gonna make it through this? I didn't really care. At about the 10-hour mark with this game, I found myself going into autopilot mode and having to consistently remind myself to stay focused on what was going on. It was really easy to start checking out during specific story beats, and whenever the characters were talking, which, oh my lord, the dialogue in this game could definitely be rough at times.
Well, wasn't expecting to fight an ogre today. Then again, I also didn't expect to learn that my gods are rampaging around and trying to end the world. Just one of those days.
Top it all off with an ending that left me wanting more, but simultaneously, because of it, I think I'm good with Dragon Age moving forward. I don't really know if I have any interest in seeing where this series goes next. It absolutely has me significantly more nervous about the next installment in the Mass Effect franchise, which really saddens me because the Mass Effect trilogy is my favorite trilogy in gaming. As far as the characters go, I do really like the team you have by your side in this game, even though the new faces are often outshined by the familiar ones from previous entries in the Dragon Age universe. Granted, those familiar faces don't actually join you on your journey, but it is nice to see them when they do pop up. I think my biggest issues with the characters in this game and how they're written is your interactions with them feel so inconsequential. I never felt like I had to worry about making anyone mad or happy. I never felt like I was put into tricky conversations I had to carefully navigate, which is something I loved about BioWare games back in the day. They used to do an excellent job at writing character relationships and really making you care for everyone on your crew, but in this game they kind of just feel like they take a backseat to the story and that you're really only collecting these background characters so you have them ready for the final fight. There also seems to be some kind of identity crisis going on with this game. Dragon Age the Veilguard feels like it's trying to give off the impression that it's an RPG without ever fully committing to being a great RPG, and that really holds this game back. By the time I got to the end of my journey with Veilguard, I couldn't help but feel like the people at BioWare wanted to make an action game here instead of an RPG. And I do find myself wondering if this would have been a better experience if they kind of went for a more linear approach. Especially since all of the RPG elements and the way they structure the story and the choices you get to make, it all feels so half-baked. It honestly reminded me a lot of the Horizon games where they give you the little dialogue wheel for you to select different choices and give you the illusion of choice, but it doesn't really matter by the end of the adventure. It's very obvious that they had a clear vision for who Rook is, and it's the hero of this game. You cannot play this as a villain. There is no renegade options. You can have some dialogue choices that are a bit more stern than others, but outside of that, you are playing through this as Rook. It doesn't feel like your version of the character. It's not like Mass Effect where you feel like you're crafting your own version of Shepard on whether he's a good guy or a bad guy or however that looks.
I've had enough of your disingenuous assertions.
More often than not, I felt like I could randomly select dialogue choices and it didn't really have much of an outcome. It was hard to really care here. Outside of a few major choices that you get to make throughout this game, I never felt like the dialogue choices mattered and that you could probably pick a lot of them at random and have a similar experience to anyone else that's playing the game. The best thing about Dragon Age the Veilguard is its gameplay. It feels very similar to God of War 2018's combat, but a watered down version that's still very enjoyable. I played through the game as a rogue and I had such a good time leveling leveling up my character and unlocking new abilities and perks. The further you get into this game, the better the gameplay gets, and that did make it way easier for me to want to push through to the end. The combat isn't anything groundbreaking or awe-inspiring, but there is plenty of fun to be had with it, and it is absolutely the highlight of Veilguard. Overall, this is a very flawed game. It is by no means the worst game of 2024, but it's still disappointing to see how they dropped the ball here. There was so much promise and potential with this title, but it's just a very underwhelming experience. I'm going to be giving Dragon Age the Veilguard a 4.5 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. Like, subscribe, and all that YouTube stuff. And what's your favorite BioWare game? I'd love to know.